Check, baby, check. 1, 2. Ready on the mics. Ready on the mics. 1, 2. Rolling on 1.
Rolling on 37.
Yeah, the excluded middle. Ryan O'Brien coming at you from the bunker.
Yep.
I almost said the back shack, man.
It's just because you miss it.
You know, I'm thinking about just doing a whole new remodel and just building a little shack down here that we can sit in. That's kind of what we did at the last place anyways. We just built a shack up.
Yeah, so
Nothing special.
we did that.
Of course,
Yeah.
Trish probably get mad about this one if we took apart in here.
No, she wouldn't care on this end, but no. No, because her side of the bunker, she has the way she wants it. And then our common ground in the middle with the 2 chairs.
True.
The only reason we don't sit there is because the stupid dog sits there all the daggum time and sheds like mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
His hair is annoying.
Dude,
mostly.
my dog is the same way, old Willer. Man.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he is a shedding. Dude, I'm talking about like
And his hair is
vacuum everything,
Doesn't
and then you
matter.
walk through the next day, you'll find just like a hairball just drifting in the corner. And I'm
if you
picking up.
vacuumed in the morning, it would be that bad at lunchtime.
Yeah, I'm like, good gosh, and around his
And his
kennel,
hair
it's
is so
like,
wiry.
oh, it's a constant battle,
Well,
man.
he's healer. He's got like 2 kinds of hair then. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's got that wiry hair, and then he's got that soft, weird undercoat towards the back.
Oh man, he's a different type of
Yeah.
beast, man.
Do you have mostly hardwood floors, though, don't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's easy, man.
Well, it is, but what I notice about the hardwood floors,
blow around.
yeah. So like the carpet where it falls, it lays on the hardwood floors. Like when I open my front door and the sun's in the morning or whatever, I can see the sun coming through.
Yeah.
So you can see Max's hair is white. It all just glistens. So if I come in the front door and there's a little bit of a south breeze, you can just see the hair going, you know, like, God dang it. And it's like,
Yeah, I don't have
literally
that.
just
Don't see
vacuumed
that.
last night.
Yeah, I don't see that.
So-
I just see like when you're walking, it's always around those edges and the corners. It's
Yeah.
like they drift there, or the circulation vents. They'll suck
dude,
in, and you just
sucks
got to
up
grab
there,
it there.
yeah.
It's kind of convenient because it's all just right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes it a little easier
So-
to clean, I suppose. And I don't see like if it was white, I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah.
All glistening, look like it's just have a morning frost or morning dew.
That is what it looks like, dude. If you went upstairs with one of those like LED style flashlights and kind of get it down, you know, towards the floor
Yeah.
horizontally, you could really see it then. But it's like Trish and I talked before. It's like, man, we need to get one of them bare floor Roombas that just constantly just chases him around.
And you know, I had one of those for a little bit, and it just quit working. And I did like that thing because I could just turn it on, and that thing would just roam around, you know. And I put it on a little schedule and everything,
Right.
So it would just do its thing. And then just one day, man, I had it for a few months, man. It just quit working, and I was just beat.
So, yeah, it's just constantly chasing.
Yeah.
I like down here because it is carpeted, so
Yeah.
where it falls, it lays, and mostly on that red chair over there and the couch where Trisha sits. But
You can see the glistening from here.
you can, dude. It's bad. I
Now
used
that,
to vacuum.
now that you said something, I'm gonna notice it.
Listen, I just use. We have a little vacuum down here. It's our little vacuum. It's the basement vacuum, bunker vacuum.
Yeah.
And so, it's a regular vacuum that you vacuum carpet with. So I don't need like unhook the hose or anything. I just get the whole damn vacuum on the chair. Just, you know what I mean?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't do that too, Ryan. Just so you know.
It works better.
Yeah.
I need one of them little handheld that just so I can get in. But,
The little, what do they call those? Back in the day, the old Dust Buster.
dude, those things
Dust
were awesome back in the day.
Do they still have those? Are they still
do,
around?
But they never work as good as the old school
But
ones
do they
do.
call them Dust Busters still?
So I think that was kind of like a brand name or something, possibly.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
I mean, they nailed it with that name because, like, just think about it. Like, if you're looking at a marketing type scheme, you know, or
Oh,
term,
yeah.
like, you know, like if you're looking for a tissue, you don't say tissue. You're like, let me get a
no,
Kleenex.
everybody says Kleenex.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
It's like that's what you want to your brand.
Right.
I mean, you want it to, so embedded in that market
Yeah, but
that they're
that's
calling
anything.
that.
Listen,
You know what I mean? That by name. Like
Typically,
they're calling out your brand for that product, man.
right. Typically, like say I go to get fuel, I would say let's go to the fuel stop, right?
See, I'd say let's go to the quick shop.
So right.
Yeah.
So then, if you're somewhere where quick shops don't exist, they're like, huh?
What are you talking about?
Right. So Wichita,
Quick shop,
most people
dude.
you would say Quick Trip,
Yeah.
honestly, because
Quick
that's
Trip,
like a
yeah.
big thing in Wichita. But yeah, so when we were in Pratt for the run the other day, Trisha needed to use the bathroom, and I don't remember. But anyways, I was like, well, I'll just drive you over to the gas station or something and just pee there. And so I said, punch something in the map, see what's closest to here. And so she just typed in Quick Shop, which was the furthest fuel stop because it's clear on the west side of town, on the south side of town. And so I went the way the map told me. And I was like, if I knew then what I know now, we'd just gone straight up the road, turned right and gone to Casey's. But I was like, surely there's something closer, I didn't,
search for gas. Just put in gas in there or something,
Yeah, I mean, she could have probably just put it in restroom. I have no idea. She really see it. Well, she needed to use a bathroom.
She wanted to use a Quick Shop.
That's just what she put in the search bar instead of fuel station.
Yeah, so you got Quick Shop, you got Kleenex. Man, what else? Dustbuster. I like that, man.
Stuff, dude.
Dustbuster.
I mean, you think about
you got those Whiffcos, the catwalks,
Well, yeah. I mean, there is the. It goes on to so many things. I mean, you think like, even like your watch is a Garmin watch, right?
Yeah.
So you think like if any time I would reference to the old school, like you remember we used to have like a Garmin in your car, even if it wasn't Garmin brand, I'd be like, oh, just punch it in your Garmin. I wouldn't say your map or your, whatever. I'd say punch it in your Garmin, which I never actually cared for the Garmin ones. I had
Garmin's are kind of, man, as far as on the GPS for like semis and stuff, man, we use Garmin too, man.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I just never cared for it.
Yeah, it does make it, I don't know, they're just not very user friendly, I don't think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I suppose the one I had was knockoff. It was still a $500 freaking.
Oh yeah, they're expensive. But on the other hand, man, I am using it and finding out more and more on it. So I mean, as I'm using it,
right,
and learning it, I think Garmin just has so many different options.
Oh yeah,
so many different things. Like even to this little watch right here, there's so much to this stuff, man. It's just constantly kind of learning. But as you capture that, and ongoing, you just gain more knowledge on it, and it becomes, I guess, easier to use the more you use it.
Yeah, and then you don't know how to use a damn map anymore.
Yeah.
So, the first gig I had driving truck, I don't know, it was 20-something years ago. It was 2018. Anyways, my mother-in-law at the time bought me, it wasn't a Garmin, it was Next something. I don't know. It was a decent GPS. And so I took it to the shop and had the guy put this update on it, so it was like more specifically for truck routes, right?
Yeah.
More often than not, that damn thing would have me end up in the middle of a field, like because we were hauling grain sometimes off farms and stuff. And so I finally just got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to use my map. Well, then when I went to Pelkey's and drove, they gave us CBs and the GPS and Garmin and all those. And so, so I'm like tootling around in Oklahoma trying to find a rock quarry, and I'm on a 4-lane that goes to a 2-lane, like state highway. Then it goes to a county blacktop, and then a dirt road, and then a cow path. And the whole time, like on the phone with my dispatcher, and he could see where I'm at because of GPS. And he's like, dude, you're real close to the rock quarry. I don't understand what your problem is. Like, you're heading in the right direction. Well, it's 2 miles south of where I needed to be, I guess, maybe. So, so then it just deads in at this river, creek, whatever. And my only option, which luckily I was empty, was to go through this field entrance of this freshly worked field and turn around and go back, or back down 6 miles, right? And so I was like, I was on the phone with him. I said, well, you got my GPS location pretty close. I'm turning around in this field. I said, I don't think I'll get stuck because I'm in, blah, blah, blah. And so then he's like, yeah. He goes, can you not see the rock quarry? And I said, I see the fucking river. He's like, oh, you're on the wrong side of the river, bro. And literally the rock quarry is right there. You can't see it because of this, but.
Hey, do you, speaking of CBs, you still got a CB?
No, dude, I have not used, so like I said, the last place I drove for, which eventually it was called Sun Valley, but they provided them, so I never had to buy another one.
Man, I got a CB. It's brand new in the box. Never even got it out. I just bought it one day just because it was on sale.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, I should have a CB. I should hook it up and put it in my truck sometime. Because I imagine
it's easy.
Still use them. I think they still use them.
Yeah, lots of places use them.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you guys probably, you have a lot of hotshot drivers too, though, don't you? So a lot of facilities, that's how you talk to them, is you get on channel 4 on your CB and alert the security guard that you're there with your credentials.
Breaker 19.
I never said that shit.
Candy
They're
Man.
not even on one. Yeah, but they're not on channel 19.
Candy.
They're on channel 4 or something off. But
What's that movie? I can't remember.
I
Anyways,
don't
man.
even know, dude. I don't remember stuff like that. I could call my kid right now and ask him. He probably knows stupid information that he saves. But, so,
Oh man.
we're winding down for an interesting couple of weeks.
Oh man, hold on before we switch,
Okay,
man. I
okay.
want to say one more thing on the Garmin, man. Is have you ever tried where you're going fishing and Garmin, dude? They got that, man. That's
Oh, on that the
3D
fish locators and stuff.
man. That camera, dude. They drop that down in there, and man, I'm telling you what, dude, that thing
Yeah.
is freaking
It
spectacular.
has a good. I don't know what they actually use, if it's Sono or how they.
Man, it is cool.
It's interesting how accurate it is, and then also you can
Oh, dude, you can watch the fish like
take your lure.
Oh, dude, I'll be sitting there and we'll get over a brush pile where typically, like, if you don't have that, you constantly get snagged in the brush and
Yeah.
everything. But with that, man, you can put it right over the camera, right over it. You can see right where the brush is, drop it down right to the brush, and then just kind of bounce it.
Oh,
and then you can watch those fish.
We're still talking about two totally different. I thought you were talking about the. It's like the old, like the old fish finders almost look like a freaking like a Tetris screen. It's like
No,
the
this
fish
is
like,
no, man. Garmin makes one, man. I'm
Yeah,
talking,
it's
dude.
a live camera.
Holy smokes, man! I mean, but and it almost they're so awesome though. But you do catch more fish with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes you
See,
still
is that
can't
really
catch fish.
fishing then?
Oh yeah, it's fishing, man. I would say it is, man, because you can get right
cheating.
there. I don't know. It's just the technology, I suppose.
If you're
But
going out, yeah.
But even then, sometimes you'll be fishing, and it almost kind of pisses you off even more. It kind of makes fishing harder at times because you can see the fish there, and you're sitting there just popping it. You're changing lures, trying to figure it out. You'll see fish just going up to it, and you can kind of bring your lure up, and they'll follow it. And
just never
sometimes
snag
they
it,
just
yeah.
don't take it, man. You'll be sitting there forever, man. It seems like trying to catch them dang fish. So it almost makes it at times having that almost makes it more frustrating. But then at the same time, dude, man, you can really get into them too at the same time. If you find it and get that brush pile, you don't lose lures, and
Yeah.
you just go to town. I don't know, man. I have fun with that. It makes it fun. It's almost kind of like a video game, almost. You know what I mean? But real
It is
life.
too, yeah, in a
Kinda
sense,
cool.
yeah. It definitely cuts the time out of trial and error
Yeah,
because you just cruise around and be like, oh, there's
there's the
a
fish.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, there they are. Let's get them, boys.
I have not fished, honestly. I mean, yeah, it's been years.
Yeah.
I used to go all the time and just, I don't know. I mean, there
I
for a
like
while we
fishing.
didn't go because of sports. Like my kids played baseball or had football or whatever. Every weekend we had something. And during the summer it was baseball, and it was weekly practices and games, tournaments every weekend. Like, when do you even have time to do anything?
Yeah.
And most of the people, like, their vacation literally was mostly like going to these damn tournaments and then trying to find something fun to do in between. So, like, if you go down to Texas and you're near Six Flags, one of the days you go to Six Flags and take your family to do that. And then the rest of the time you sit in a baseball stadium and watch 80, 17, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which I miss that now. I'll be glad, hopefully, some of these up and coming grandkids, which have a lot of girls, so maybe they'll play softball or something. But
And the
but
boys.
even then, it's like we missed a lot of Sundays at church because of sports, and so I don't want my boys to make that same mistake with their kids.
Yeah.
I think it's very important because all it taught them was there's a lot of things that are more important than meeting on Sunday, and then it just turns into you're not meeting ever, right? You know what I mean? Because it's like anything. Like, I missed a few Sundays, and then next thing I know, I hadn't been in 6 weeks. And I was like, holy smokes, dude! I can't believe that's how fast that goes. And for me, it's like kind of like when I quit going to meetings for recovery and stuff. Then I need that connectivity at church for that part of it, because that's where I go to get healed and those types of things. And so so I don't want them to make that mistake. There was a couple dads that had kids, and they would never be there on Sundays because they're at church, and it used to make me so mad because they were actually some of the best players on the team. So we'd do really
Get
good.
here.
We'd do really good on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday's the games that matter.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
that's the championship games right there.
the most athletically skilled kid and one of the most baseball knowledge kids, who was fairly athletic himself. He was a pitcher, could play third base well. The other kid played shortstop, two crucial positions. and the other kid could pitch if he had to. He just wasn't. He could throw fastballs, but anyways, the other kid could throw this monster freaking curveball. Wouldn't be there on Sundays, lose the tournament. And then they'd be there at practice on Monday and be like, "What happened to you guys?" Oh, Dad said we had to go to church, and so then I go to talk to the dads, and I mean, there was no convincing them. They're just like, "No."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I'll come get him. You don't have to miss."
Well,
No.
they were probably at where you are now, I suppose.
Yeah,
when it
these
comes to
dads were
church.
probably. I mean,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. They'd already been through the struggle, I guess.
Yeah, I just knew it and didn't want to go there. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, the one was raised in church constantly, so I mean that probably was just like family
Embedded
tradition
in
type,
them, yeah, for real though.
And in these aspects too, is like I kind of left church at one point because the church I grew up in, I quit feeling comfortable at because when my parents got divorced and the way that they treated me, because they believed my mom's lies, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I was going to Westbrook for a while, and then when it morphed into Cross Point, I was like, I don't really like this.
Yeah, and anymore now, you could probably find a church, on Saturday, Friday, Wednesday. Sunday.
There's honestly not a whole bunch. Trish and I used to go to Wednesday night service at 17th and Main there because nowhere else really had one at that time. Like even where we were going on Sunday church didn't have a service on Wednesdays, and where we go to church now doesn't have a service on Wednesdays.
Or Sunday night even, man.
So that was big growing up. They had an evening service,
the
right?
church that I went to when I was a kid, I remember if you missed Sunday morning church, they would have a Sunday night church, and in fact, they would even offer communion a second time on the Sunday night if you missed it during the Sunday morning service.
I think the churches miss the point. I think anytime they meet, they should offer communion.
They do say to do it often, but then I was having this conversation with a fellow the other day, which I thought was pretty good, and his take on it was that he doesn't like to do it so often like that because he feels it takes away from the meaning. It becomes more repetition.
Sounds like a personal problem to me.
That's what I said too. Personal problem.
100%
Well, yeah,
agree.
but again, you say it sounds like a personal problem to you. Well, it is a personal problem, and to be a personal problem, communion would be of the heart. So if he's not in a place where he can adequately take communion, he shouldn't take it, and it's a personal choice and a personal problem. And you got to work that out, buddy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There's been times where I didn't feel that my heart was in the right place to take communion. Where we go now at Mary Mag is offered every Sunday, and then if we have a special service, obviously, usually communion. That's the whole focal point is communion on those. But so there's been Sundays that a couple times it was like self-worth issues, maybe like I didn't feel worthy to go up there and take it. One time it was just because I was so angry still, and I was like, I'll be danged if I'm going up there this angry. And the other time really it was just like I had been really kind of just for a few weeks a dipshit was the easiest way to put it. And so I don't know. I mean, I would agree for the most part, sin, right? Any sin distracts you from the face of God. I think there's various levels of sin that would keep you from seeing the face of God at different levels, obviously. So it's like, well, I really wasn't treating my kids very good, or my wife. And this was recently this year, through like May and June.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having some mental health issues too. That just, I mean, I had 10 or 11 days didn't even leave my house,
Yeah.
And so
and I would agree too because you should do it often. Like I agree with that, and I like that how it's as he says that in scripture. Do it often, do this often in remembrance of me. But and if you do that often, it allows you that moment. If you're not doing that on a daily basis, part of your process or whatnot, that moment at communion, it allows you that moment and that time to get yourself right. You know what I mean? So I would say do that often because that's putting that place. And if you're doing it right, you're actually taking. You're looking at yourself, man.
It's a table. It's a table of grace and mercy, right?
Yeah,
it really is. You think of that
before God, man.
It is, and it's the blood and body. So that's the grace and mercy. Is So why would you not want to ingest that?
Yeah,
why would you not want to be a part of that?
Yeah, and that's what I said to the gentleman when I was discussing when we were having
it matters
conversation.
Just as much in a sense, and I wouldn't have thought this before but I think who is offering the communion, I don't know. I've just been to a lot of places to take a communion, who's offering it sets the tone for. I was at a big Baptist church, and it was Communion Sunday. We were there on Saturday evening, but it was Communion weekend. And they just had buckets with the little communion cups that you pull the top and the biscuit and then the wine's underneath.
Yeah.
So you got those as you went in, and then you sat through worship, prayer, service. Then they came out and did some announcements, and then they had another pastor come on stage and said, if you didn't notice, it's Communion Sunday, and we ask that if you are not been baptized to not take communion. Well, that's part of being a Southern Baptist. And so, which surprised me to say, if you're not a member of this church,
There's
right?
more than just the Baptists that do that.
There
the church
is, but
I went with did the same.
Yeah, but the church I was at was Southern Baptist. So, so very informal. And then he basically doesn't say anything more. He says this short prayer, and then he opens up his deal and takes it.
Yeah.
So me and Steven, Catholic kid, are just sitting there waiting.
It's probably jaw dropped.
And well, he wouldn't even take it. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for him to read the scripture where it says, on the night that Jesus was betrayed, he took the bread and broke it and said, this is my body, eat. This is the cup, my blood, drink. He didn't even do that.
Yeah.
And so then I'm looking around and everybody's just ripping their tab and going. And I'm like, well, I mean, whatever. That was strange, And I hadn't been at the church. I'd been out at Mary Mag for a year or so, right? And so it kind of did bother me. I didn't understand communion at the time, and then I just really, really poured into it, and just dug on. The biggest advantage that I got of words of wisdom from our pastor there was, so I was already studying backwards, trying to understand. So I worked my way up to the Reformation, and then I was slowly working my way to where the Orthodox split from the Catholics. And he said, why don't you start at the beginning? Instead of working backwards, why are you confirming this way? Start here, take your Bible, and then read the first 100 years of church history. Then read the second 100 years of church history. Then the next 100, you know what I'm saying, and work through that way. And when you look and you read these homilies or whatever it be, them preaching, and they documented everything. It was crazy. They'd have so many scribes writing stuff down, and then at the end compare to make sure, okay, well, 5 of you have it written this way, 3 of you have it written this way. So why is there a difference here? And sometimes it was as simple as their pen ran a little low on ink, so instead of having this squiggly line, it just wasn't there, right? Because of the way they write. So so you have this of them meeting all the time, daily, and offering communion daily. And for the first 1,300 years of the church, right? Most of the Orthodox and Catholics, they had Mass every day. And so they had tradition that they followed, and one of those was the Eucharist. So, it makes me wonder, but it's no different than when you go to church on a Sunday and you're just not really feeling it, right?
Right.
You go, whatever, if you don't go or go, but a lot of times I've said this, I'm only here out of obedience. I don't want to be here. I'm grumpy. I don't know that I'm even getting anything out of this. I'm really, honestly, just here for obedience, and don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And usually, then by the time communion rolls around, I'm daggum beards wet with tears, and I've reconciled to myself that this is where I need to be, because that was foundational to me, was going to church and my recovery. I went to Oxford on a Tuesday, and the first Sunday I went to church, and I hadn't even slept hardly yet. I was awake the first 4 days there.
Yeah.
And it was comforting to go to Haven, to my home, where people knew me, but they didn't know that part of me. And, you go in and they give you a hug, they whisper in your ear, you look like shit, dude. I'm I know, that's why I'm here. I want to get better. Help me.
Yeah. See, I'm just not much of a church goer, man.
Well, so it took me a long time to get back to that point. Like I said,
and I try, man, and I do try.
Yeah,
I do try, Ryan. I do try.
I'm not disputing that.
And I guess I just don't. I'm just not much. I don't know.
After you go to so many of them, and it's just
it almost pulls me away versus pulling me towards. If that makes sense, man.
Oh, yeah, I can see where that can happen.
Yeah. So I'm just I don't know, man.
I struggle a lot, and this dude shared this deal. It's kind of a funny bit, but it's this lady. She goes to her pastor, and she's been at this church forever, and she goes, well, it's just bothering me, those kids in the back that are talking all the time, and then the lady over there that, she's not dressed very well, and then you got these guys over here with all these tattoos, and it just bothers me that the the people that sit up front are constantly up and down and getting up. And so the pastor says, all right, fine. He goes, well, next Sunday, what I want you to do is I want you to get a cup of water. I want you to fill it all the way to the top. And while I'm preaching, I want you to walk around the outside with that cup of water. And then I want you to come find me afterwards. And so the lady does it. She comes and finds the preacher, and he says, well, what about Joe? Did Joe bother you today? And she said, well, no. And he said, well, what about the kids in the back that were noisy all the time? Did you notice them at all? Were they bothering you? She said, no, they didn't. She's mad. She goes, well, what about the lady that you don't like the way she dresses? How was she dressed today? Well, I didn't even notice. Well, what about the people up front that are up and down all the time? Did they get in your way while you're carrying the water? And she goes, well, I would have noticed those things if I wasn't so busy walking around with my focus on this cup of water, trying not to spill it. And he's like, oh, so what you're saying is your focus is off. It has nothing to do with these other people.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And so all of a sudden, I get goosebumps up for that. I was struggling with that where I was at because a lot of the people that I invited were discouraging me, right? Because they can't sit still and they can't do these things. And even today, it's like it takes every ounce of me to be patient about it and not just be like,
Yeah, I don't know.
It's very difficult.
I don't know if it's necessarily that. For me, that wouldn't be the reason, but that does make sense. Mine's more, I don't even know.
The point is the focus is like our focus becomes this thing. It's like, for me, church hurt happened. And it really hurt me more, not so much in my case, but the way they treated my dad.
Yeah.
Right. And then they kind of did the same thing at the other church, the other Southern Baptist church. And it was interesting. Like they literally, the higher ups told him that he wasn't a good Christian. I was just like, wow, he served that church for 20 years.
Yeah. See, and then see stuff like that too. That would be real discouraging, man. And there's just so many of them too, man. That's what trips me out too.
It comes down to the focus.
They're like on every corner, man. It's wild.
It is wild.
I'm like, why is there so many of them?
I think there's 89 churches in Hutch, counting the Catholics.
Weird. See, that's
Mormons,
weird to me, man.
Seventh-day Adventist. Now, so the Methodist Church started as one church, and it got so big that, and that's part of the Methodist tradition, is so a certain number of the people, and they kind of decide amongst themselves, went and started another church on a different side of Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And then that got so big. So then they went and started another Methodist church. And you think about like the Methodist church where it started, they already took up the whole block.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It almost like frustrates me too, man. To a point, not really. I don't know. I just don't like it. I guess since that, like you drive by and you see these huge just churches and they just sit empty, man.
Yeah,
like there's these huge churches. They have
nothing going on during the week.
Right. It's like, what are you guys doing? You're supposed to be like, involved in the community, doing all this stuff. And it's like your doors are shut, locked, right. You can't go in. And like, if you know what I mean? It's like, that's what I don't understand. And I just don't get that. If you look at
a lot of the older churches, they are set up in a way that you can obviously tell that it was a church and a school.
Yeah.
Right. So you look at like Trinity Methodist on 17th and Main, church and a school.
Yeah.
The, United Methodist down on First Cross of the Post Office, you could tell it was set up for church school, not just Sunday school. I'm talking like during the week.
Yeah, and then like even if you look at church, like they should, I think they should be, like they did back in the day, taking care of the homeless, or and like
outside of their congregation.
Yes, man. Like the community you're in, and that's what gets me. And I think that's why it's discouraging for me is that you see these churches on every single corner, but yet the community is just ravaged with things. And I'm like, well, I would put that onto the church, man. Like, what are you all doing, man? Well, nothing. You got your doors all shut up and locked up, and you're waiting on Sunday, man. Right. Like, come on, man.
Well, you think in the scheme of things, and it comes down to what we're going to talk about that we haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of things are based on, it's political, right? And I'm not saying Republican, Democrat.
Then you get into church, then it becomes political, and it's like, why are you, that's
that just
weird
adds
to
another
me
layer.
too.
But a lot of churches are different things by voting, and did that just flash at me? I've been seeing weird stuff out of my eyeballs because I wore my glasses all week, and then now I'm not. And it's not. I can see pretty decent without them. They're mostly annoying to me, right? Because I don't know if they just don't stay where I want them on my face, so they always slide down. And yeah.
And and thinking about that, that's why the church that I go to now, when I do go, it's it's more like their doors are open.
Yeah,
Like
for
their
the
doors
most
are
part.
open, man. That's why
Yeah.
and they're actually doing things and bringing people in and help. I'm like, man, that's more what I can get behind, man. And I like that
So
aspect
the whole,
of it.
I mean, the basis of the mission statement there is serve the least of these, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do
Heck,
you?
they weren't even going to have a church service there for a while. It just kind of came about.
Well,
That's
see,
why I kind of
that's
dig it too, man. I liked it, but I like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because that's what, and to me, that's what church should be more like.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we should be meeting together just naturally, man. And that's
Well,
what I don't understand why
I
they're.
think that we should be meeting together outside of church
That's
a
what I
lot.
mean. Yeah,
with
we
those
should come
people in
natural, man.
fellowship.
Yeah, it should come natural.
So yeah, but there is a. Stop with that and let's talk about the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What they look like.
Yeah.
Because it's going to affect the population in the United States, various aspects of the population.
Where are we going now?
We'll talk, the presidential election's coming up.
Yeah. Oh, big Daddy Trump, Big Mama Kamala,
Yeah.
baby. Let's go. And Trump is going on Rogan tomorrow, man.
I do like that.
I'm kind of excited about that one, man.
I'm super bummed that all the smack that people talk that the vice president's not going to go on and be interviewed by Rogan.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, he's an objective promoter of truth.
Yeah.
Now, so I will say a lot of times, sometimes that becomes a opinionated truth because Joe likes to put his thoughts in. But what I do like about Rogan is if someone sways him, like he'll admit it, and then he will bring on more people to show, and really, I think he just wants to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he wants to know as much as he can about everything, and I totally dig that about Rogan.
Yeah. Just out there seeking.
Yeah, constantly, and I think eventually one day he's going to be swayed to the absolute truth, which is Scripture, because he's borderline now on some of the stuff he says.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And he's slowly coming that way, though. Like if you've watched him for some years, like you're like, wow, man, he is kind of coming around.
What's interesting, the most interesting to me is though that he's asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Like when you think in those terms, but
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's been a lot of news and commercials and just things, right? So I noticed today that they were dissecting an article. Someone had wrote a book, basically said, and he's not blaming Trump or the Bidens or Kamala. He's not putting it in that, but he's like, what people need to understand is this, even though there's not an active like north south or whatever, Democrat Republican civil war going on, there's actually been this like slight civil war going on in the United States for about the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And you think about a lot of it would stem from the late 70s, 80s into the 90s with the small town militias, right? And you think of like in Oregon where they basically had like this shared land, and it was government land, but the farmers were allowed to farm on it. And all of a sudden this guy said, you know what? I'm sick of this. This was my family's land. You came in and took it from us in the 50s, and now I'm reclaiming it. And so he started putting up fences, big fences. And then he started putting guys on horseback armed to keep people off his
I do
property.
remember that happening.
Right.
That was here. That was like
it was the Bundys, right?
Yeah, that's
Ammon
right.
Bundy's
Yeah, that's
dad.
right.
I can't
Yeah.
think of his name, but and
Yeah.
I still follow Ammon Bundy on old YouTube. Man, he's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know where
wild
his
bunch
I
right
don't-
there,
they-
man.
Well, but
they like to hold ground.
they're not scared for
That's
dang
what
sure.
I mean, and they shouldn't be, man.
I
And
asked
we shouldn't be. As a people, man.
Well,
we should.
yeah.
Yeah.
I asked myself this totally off subject. I constantly wondered where his money comes from because the government took everything.
Oh yeah, they
Right.
stripped him, man.
And YouTube constantly yanking. I mean, it's just stupid.
Yeah, it's a constant battle.
His biggest thing that he was fighting against the Bundy guy was a little kid that went into the hospital, had something wrong with him, and the hospital said he needed this treatment, and the parents said no, we want a second opinion. The hospital called the parents in for child abuse and kept the kid.
Dang.
Year later, kid dies.
Yeah.
Right. So then the parents tried to sue the hospital, and then the hospital sued Ammon Bundy for like $1.2 million and freaking won.
They've done that. Those they've done them wrong, man, for
Awesome,
sure,
dude.
on
I've
all
seen so
kinds of
much on
levels.
that. But so I think I agree with that sentiment in a sense of that there have been little things that if you added them all up would equal to this leading up to this bigger thing. Now, at the end of the day, though, all the propaganda has been happening forever, since newspapers. You know what I mean? It started in newspapers, and then it went to TV and radio and television.
Yeah, it's just power plays, man.
So
manipulation of the masses, man.
Well, yeah, I guess you have a freedom to choose what you believe.
Yeah, it's been going on forever. Discernment's key, man. So,
well, So I don't think. I mean, you should vote. You should vote your conscience, right? You should vote your conscience. And if your conscience says vote for Kamala, then by God, vote for that lady. But if your conscience says vote for Trump, then vote for Trump. If your conscience says don't vote, then don't vote. Like I support that. I have to be. I'm American. I have to support that, right? Because what the Constitution says.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I didn't agree with it, then I should move somewhere else where they don't have those liberties. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is wrong with people?
Man, a lot.
What is wrong with people when we start putting dollar amounts on human lives, right? Which is what happens with medical and pharmaceutical and people in recovery and all these different things.
Yeah, I just think what's wrong with people more, they align more with their selfish ways, man, and desires.
Well, yeah,
they look for just comfort in their own power plays and their own, like they want their thumb on you. And I mean, that goes down to just like the little areas in life too, man. Just like simple things. It's like not everybody, but most are just trying to have some type of control over another, it just weirds me out.
And as soon as they institute that control over another, then they become power hungry, though. See,
that's what I mean. And then it's
now
like
we have this.
They want to be up above you just by a little bit, man. And then they want to keep you down. And it's just like, and it's like almost like their leadership, like our leadership is skewed, man. It's almost like you would want to bring everybody else alongside you and lift everybody up around you, man, and allow their creativity and allow their own selves to begin to progress in great ways. You know what I mean?
Do that only if it benefits them.
That's what I mean. So they try to keep you down. They're like, oh, well, or you might outdo me. Like, you know what I mean? Well, if they're better, then allow them. So, man, we'll have a better place because of them. You know what I mean? Being better.
Right.
It's wild to me,
I think
man.
A lot of it does come down. I mean, you think history repeats itself. So you look at any of these other great nations throughout history and put a time limit to it. The average time limit is between 225 and 300 years. Then they fall.
Yeah.
Right. So then here, if history repeats itself and you think, you know, the way America's set up, it's like, you hear it constantly. I mean, I've said it numerous times. It's the new Babylon, right? America is the new Babylon.
I think it's always been Babylon, man.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it wasn't Babylon in the Bible because that existed before in a different area of the world.
I don't know. Start going down some rabbit holes, man.
Well, I mean, I guess you could. Even if you went to the Pangea rabbit hole, it would still, here's this and here's where America would fit. Geographically speaking, take that out of it and just look at principle and the way things happen. So you would go back to all these dynasties, and some dynasties were happening at the same time, and then they would both fall apart, which was always wild to me, right? Yeah. So you have northern Israel, southern Israel, and within like a 20-year time, they both fall.
Right.
You know, and then you have like the east and west, and they both fall. It just continually happens, and it's happened in our lifetime of certain places where you think like the USSR was a huge landmass, communist, blah, blah, blah. And what was it in the like late 80s? They broke up the USSR and they made all them small countries that never had a prayer in hell to make it.
Yeah. Was it late 80s?
Early 90s, maybe even. I think Cold War ended like in the early 80s or late 70s. And so then after that, you think like the Berlin Wall came down, right? Yeah. See, there's this different, I mean, it's just, so to not be able to think around those things, that makes me think people are crazy. Like they just will not acknowledge past things. What they want to remember in the past is things that really have no consequential meaning to anything that's happening today.
Yeah. I always kind of wonder too, like then as far as history, like who's writing the history, you know what I mean? Then you get into that. And like, I think a lot of our history's, skewed, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think a lot of it's been hidden, not all there. I don't know.
When you think, I think you're,
you know what I mean? Like what people just making shit up half the time, I think. You know what I mean? They come across something, they find something like, well, this is what it was. And then they put that out.
Really know, yeah.
They didn't really know. They write that down in the book, and then it's like, oh, that's what it is.
Well, it's like
then here we are, hundreds of years later, we're like, well, maybe
like
that's not what it was, man. Maybe you're wrong.
The carbon dating testing that they do, and they say, oh, well, we found this, and it's 10 million years old.
Yeah.
Right. But one of the things that you have to have for science is comparison. You have to have something to compare it to. So what are they comparing it to? Nothing. Their best educated guess.
Exactly,
is what they
man.
have.
Like,
So in the same area, they come over like, I don't know, 30 yards, same depth, and they find I believe it was a hammer that was forged, and there's no way that hammer's 10 million years old. And if it is, then Joe Rogan's right. Right? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Anunnaki, all that. That's because they. So then, how do they explain around that? Right? Well, they can't.
Yeah.
And they try.
Yeah, they try.
But they just can't. So we're in the same general area.
Like, well, it says right here.
300 feet away and in the same rock. So then how did that rock come to be? Well, it had to be something cataclysmic, right? So you could go to different times in history. So you would say in the Bible, it says that there was a great flood, cataclysmic worldwide event. Weirdly enough, there's so much evidence to support that flood, but people want to be a denier of it. It's uncanny to me. But you think in terms of history, like in the 50s, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? That changed the course of church history forever.
Oh, yeah, it was a big find.
You know what I'm saying? And it's still changing things. Previous to that, it was like they were unearthing some stuff in Jerusalem, and they came across this, what they believe was like where the original temple was. Even though where the Temple Mount is, they're like, well, it could be, but it would have had to have running water and these different things. And so now they find this well, Siloam well or something like that, and they're like, and then they dig a little further, and there's like these huge foundational stones, and then they dig a little further, and they find these tunnels that actually go to the Temple Mount, right? So there's all these weird stuff that forever, it's like 3, 4, 5, whatever thousand years is like, this is it, right? We know it came from this time period, and then they dig 10 feet deeper, like, wait a minute, that's weird because we didn't recognize this until this time period. It's actually 2,000 years newer, or whatever. It's like, how did it get there? Cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited for some reason, just because I feel like watching politics to me is almost the same as watching Family Guy.
It is entertainment, man.
The Simpsons.
I have a good time with it, man. I think it's fun. I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious I just think it's hilarious, man.
I love the part where it's like they truly believe if they say something enough times, it has people will believe it's true.
Oh man,
true.
And half the time they're not even saying anything anymore. It's like, man, what are we even doing?
Well, there's that aspect also.
Man, and then just people eat it up, man.
I asked myself the simple question: if I was to vote, was I happier between 2008 and 2016, right? Then I was. Well, let's just say 2012 to 2006. Keep it close. So was I happier when Obama was around than I was when Trump was around? No, I wasn't. Was I a lot more happier when Trump around? No, I wasn't. Yeah. I really wasn't.
For real.
But what I did like is what I noticed in my geographical area and around my friends is they were able to go back to do what they loved, right?
Yeah.
The farmers that were going broke weren't going broke for those 4 years. Now they're broke again, right? Because of subsidies and terrible trade and all these different things and cost of fuel. Local refineries and stuff, especially like ethanol plants, right?
Yeah.
They were all but closing the doors on them, and then Trump comes into office, and all of a sudden these guys are firing back up,
booming,
and these guys that's all they know, that's all they've done for 25 years is work in this industry, lose out their jobs through Obama, and then back in 2017 they go back to work.
What I've noticed though too, man, I think they do right at the gate, everything picks up, but it seems to me like if a Republican's in office for too long though, that they hit the gas pedal and then they don't take it off. So then everybody just goes full blown hard, and then we have a surplus of everything. So then it becomes stagnant again, and then we start losing, and then it's almost like we're in this cycle because we tend to cycle. And then a Democrat comes in, kind of puts the brakes on, but then they hold the brakes too long,
right?
So then it starts breaking people the other way, so we have to have a little bit of both
Right.
to bring that balance about, man. So it's like if somebody could just figure out like how to maintain balance, but they don't, because then it goes again back to just people just get greedy,
but
man.
Their idea to maintain balance is that not one branch can have total power. So you have the executive, the judicial, and the congressional. So you have the House and the Senate that have to vote on things. So you could very well have a Republican president and have a Democratic House and Senate, and you get nothing done.
That's what. Well, yeah. Then you said stagnant, right? Yeah. Then you said stagnant.
So then, even though he didn't get reelected in 2022, of course, they thought there was going to be a lot more Republican turnaround from Democrat to Republican, and there just wasn't. But they gained enough seats to have one. Yeah. Right, to be one ahead, depending on how the vote came out. Then, of course, Kamala would have to come in and do the tiebreaker, and a lot of times she did have to do that. Like, I think, honestly, maybe more than any other vice president on record for tie-breaking votes, she came in and made the deciding vote. And, of course, she's going to go with her party, even though it's trash. So, I'm just saying, it really is. These progressive Republicans aren't near as bad as these extremist lefty liberals, dude. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, well, if you're anymore now,
get caught on hot mic saying,
like, if you're anymore now, if you're moderate, you're just considered Republican. That's what trips me out.
Yeah, I mean,
well, we've had this conversation, and you disagree on it.
I do, because it comes down to
Trump. I would say is moderate. Joe Rogan, I wouldn't even know if he's moderate, but I would say
in some aspects, because
they lean to him to be more conservative. When I wouldn't call him conservative.
Definitely now,
I would. The lefties conservative.
The lefties would, but the true hardcore Republicans would still label him as more left than right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But cruises a very good middle line.
Yeah.
But where he gets away with that is because he's honest about it. You know, Tim Pool, same way. He's a libertarian.
Another one. Yeah, man. There's so many now that I would see as more moderate or more on the liberal side, and they're not. Yeah. They're considered right wing now, which trips me out. Which is almost kind of good for the Republican Party, because that's just increasing their base, and they're becoming more. They're becoming more of a party for the people than the Democrat Party.
Democrats used to be the party for the people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They used to run on that, but now it's like
entrepreneurs and rich people.
Now it's like the Democratic Party's more for the
crazy elite.
Yeah, for the elite systems, the big corporations and stuff like that, and it's like totally kind of flip flopped. I don't know.
Yeah, it kills the entrepreneurial.
It's just always been like that, and it's coming more to light. I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, and like I said last time, is like things you're gonna grow with age. Hopefully, like some of the things I believed when I was 18, I don't believe now. Right? Yeah. I mean, some of the things I believed when I was 40, I don't believe now.
Yeah, man, I'm just sitting here thinking on this too, man. Like, if you even look at their conventions and stuff like that, like even back to like I remember when Hillary Clinton was running against Trump, right? Yeah. It was that president night, like I kind of remember, I think that's maybe kind of when I really noticed it. It was like Hillary Clinton, the amount of money that was put into that was off the chain.
$1 billion or something.
I don't even know the amount. I just remember watching it, and it was like, holy smokes, the amount of money that went into that. And then Trump wins the president, and all he does is walk up on some mediocre stage with a wooden podium. And it's like, thanks, I won. And then you got Hillary that, I mean, it was just off the chain, the whole convention and all that. And you can even look at that, like if you looked at the RNC versus the DNC and like the amount of money that gets put into those conventions, and you compare the two, like the dollar amounts that are floating around on that Democratic side is so much bigger than the Republican side. But you would have to say that the billionaires of the world, or the billionaires of the country, or the world for that matter, or probably donating more to that party.
Except George Soros.
Well, no, they're donating to the Democratic Party.
He does to like individual low level Democrats. He gave very little to Hillary Clinton in the Democratic convention, though.
Yeah.
But
that's just one. There's probably I don't know how many there is.
Donor.
Well, yeah, but
by millions, like tens of millions of dollars,
Well, yeah, but obviously, all I'm saying, I don't know if you're catching it, but the Democratic Party is getting more influx of dollar amounts.
Oh yeah.
So I would say they're not getting that probably from the common people. I would say they're getting those from large donors.
Well, most of the Democrat money is from large donors, and the Republican.
I could be incorrect, but
no, it is. You can look on the numbers. Most of his large donor donations, like that Sam Bankman-Fried that just got put in jail for the Bitcoin fraud, he gave like $30 million
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't his money to give, so it was freely give, I guess. But most of them are big name people. Now, with the exception of like Elon Musk, who, agreed $40 million to the Trump campaign alone. And I don't know, it's like another $40 million to low level campaign fundraising and stuff. That's like their one big donor. Most of it is small pocket donations of 15 or $20
Yeah.
across 81 million people, though.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting.
That money would
way.
grow fast.
So I texted our good neighbor the other day from across from the back shack, and I asked him if we were going to have a election night party at his house because he has the best couches, right? And he said, he texts back, hell nah. He goes, it'll take days to count. And I text back, I said, all I know is we're having a really good meal that night, just in case.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
He knows what I meant by that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Trisha's eyes get big, but
That's funny.
she thinks I'm just plumb crazy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I think it'd just be business as usual, man.
I think on either side of it, stuff's going to burn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People are going to throw their tantrums and fits,
Yeah,
man, on both sides.
If Trump loses,
Because, because both
stuff's
sides.
going to burn.
I think ultimately,
When
if
Biden
you,
won, stuff burned.
yeah, if you really look at it, because there's two extremes, obviously, man. There's extreme left, there's an extreme right, and both those extremes, I would say, ultimately think they are going to win. There's no telling them that there's no chance of not winning on both sides.
Yeah.
So when one of them's gonna win and it's not gonna be who they think it is,
Right.
then the tantrums flare, dude. It's a trip to me, man.
What poll do you go by? I mean,
I go by the money ones, man.
I go by the betting polls.
Yeah,
too.
I like the money, man. The money speaks.
What I
man,
like about the
typically,
money
so.
polls is
Of
they're
course, the Hillary
they're
Clinton
live.
one was wrong because they had Hillary Clinton winning on the money polls, I believe, if I remember right. I don't know. I'd have to go
God, that was
looking
a long
back
time ago.
because I thought that was a big upset with Trump winning there at the end on the money polls.
Well, so Trump won the Electoral College, even though Hillary Clinton won the popular vote.
Yeah.
And so then the Democrats wanted to do away with the Electoral College, which then 4 years later would have screwed them because Trump had the popular vote and Biden had the Electoral College.
Yeah.
But yes, at the end of the day, I don't know. I was on Facebook arguing with somebody, and they're like, "Well, when's the last time a Republican balanced the budget?" And I said, "Never. That's not what they're there about." And so they said, "Well, Bill Clinton balanced the budget." And I said, "Well, he did, and he actually left with a surplus, but he increased taxes like 30% for so many people."
Bill Clinton was another one. He cracked me up, man. He was a funny dude.
For a
man.
Democrat, he was actually a pretty good president.
Yeah, he was a
He
funny
really
guy,
did.
man. I just remember what was that who was that one lady, man? That's what I always think of.
His side chick.
Yeah,
Old
with
Lewinsky.
the cigars and all that, man.
Yeah.
Lewinsky. Was it
So,
Lewinsky?
Monica Lewinsky was
Monica
the one that
Lewinsky, man. That was a big
I did not
thing.
have sexual relations with Miss Lewinsky.
Yeah.
So
Busted.
little known fact. I don't know if you kept up a lot on the Epstein.
Yeah, because he would have lied under oath right there too,
Why
right?
they impeached him for it.
They tried. I didn't.
No, they impeached him, but you have to have.
They impeached him, but it didn't go through.
Because you first have to be impeached in the House, and then or vice versa. I
Yeah,
don't
true.
know.
Because Trump was impeached twice.
Twice, but
Yeah.
it never made it through the Republican Congress. But
Right.
so when Epstein got raided and they shut down his island, when you walk in the front door of Epstein's mansion on that island and you turn to the right and there's this huge sitting area, there's the biggest daggum picture of Bill Clinton in a dress laid out on a couch above the fireplace.
I don't know, Ryan. Yeah.
Google it right now. I'm telling you. Do you know how
There's no way, man.
It's
I wouldn't say there's no way, but I don't know.
It's in the Epstein reports, dude.
Oh man.
So I think what'll be best if Trump does get elected is
I don't know, man. I might call Cap, maybe. I don't know.
look it up, dude. Look it up. I should have brought my other computer down.
Oh,
When you see it, you're gonna die laughing, dude, because it is clearly Bill Clinton. Clearly
man.
Bill Clinton.
Oh,
He was
man.
at that island more than anybody else, man. He loved it down there. I wonder why.
I bet there was a lot of people at that island, man.
Well, Trump had been there,
I mean, people have died over that island right there, man.
except for Ghislaine Maxwell. Isn't that kind of
Yeah.
strange? So if Trump does get elected and he does what he says, which he's going to release all the CIA documents and put Robert Kennedy in charge of it.
I believe
on
that
the
when I see it,
Kennedys,
man. People like to say a lot, man.
and
People like to
release
talk.
100% the Epstein documents. I don't know. I mean, you think about it,
Because at that level, you probably get into who knows. I'll believe it when I see it. People like to talk.
Well,
People like
there's
to say a
way
lot.
too many world powers, right? So
Yeah.
the Epstein thing, it shamed the Queen of England because her son was involved, right?
That's what I mean. There's a lot of power players there, so they like to say a lot. I'll believe it when I see it, man.
If anybody's going to do it, it would be Trump.
Maybe.
I just think. I mean, who else is up and coming in the Republican Party that even talks that
nobody,
way? None.
you know.
JD Vance,
Yeah.
JD
But-
Vance is too young. He don't care about that.
you
Kind
know,
of stuff.
because and that's what and I think people get. I think people get a little bit misled with that too. Like on that side, that's how you get that extreme because they're like, "This is going to happen. This is going to happen,"
Right.
and then he gets there, and then it's like, "Oh, that didn't happen." You
Right.
know what I mean? Like people talk
So
a lot,
even
man. People
Obama-
say a lot, dude.
Obama put it out
Both
there.
sides. Trump
the
says a lot,
He's
man.
the one that brought out the Freedom of Information Act, right? So
Yeah.
if you wanted to, you all you got to do is submit a FOIA request, and then you would get it and it'd be freaking half redacted, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a letter saying, well, we have to protect the innocent. We have
Exactly.
to protect this.
Yeah.
But there were redacting parts that really mattered.
Yeah,
And then
for
if someone committed a crime, are they really innocent?
Yeah.
Right. So it's to protect other people. So
Yeah.
you know, look at the P. Diddy thing. I believe that guy's guilty.
Oh yeah, that's another one right there, man. That's another one.
How
that's
deep does it go,
and
though?
then what's frustrating about all this is that there's so many people involved, and so many people that just knew about it and could have probably helped maybe put a stop to it, but they just did it, man.
Nothing. For what? though?
Nothing,
For what
man.
fear?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's what you know. If you got that at that level, man, I'm just like, come on, like how do you not like blow a whistle on that?
Yeah.
Or maybe they tried and I don't know, maybe they got capped or something. I don't know.
Some of them that did try, either one
Or got ruined.
they blacklisted them from Hollywood.
Because then they start
canceled them.
Yeah, then they start calling you
Or-
crazy.
Or
and
shit
everyone-
happens to them, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, physical things.
true. And
Uh,
people just keep on screaming, and I guess people did. You're right. I guess people did. They just got blacklisted.
Yeah.
And,
People
and, you know,
try to cancel Joe Rogan, though, right?
yeah.
Try to cancel Dave Chappelle.
And they have, I believe.
They've tried, but it didn't work.
Yeah,
You know? Old
Yeah.
Tim Pool, he about hung it up the other day.
yeah, I seen that too.
Kind of scared me a little bit because I enjoy watching his
I
stuff.
do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few I like.
I've always liked Tim Pool, even clear back when he was on Vice. I liked him there.
Yeah.
But I really like the people he brings on more than anything. They're just normal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I totally get where he's coming from at the end of the day. He's like, I'm ready to make a different commitment to my family.
Yeah.
And this is kicking my
100%, man.
butt.
100%.
I think about in our terms, like we only meet once a week and it's a struggle.
Oh, dude, he's doing it all day. He has a whole staff. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, man.
Well, I mean, we tried to have a staff and that just didn't work out.
much
Here we
for
are.
that.
That's our staff right there. You're beating them on the daggone table.
Sure, man.
Old California raisin, dude. So, yeah. Well, I think that as Christians, we have a duty to pray. Not pray that Trump wins, pray that God's will's done.
Yeah, pray without ceasing, man.
And pray without ceasing, and then pray over our politicians. No matter who's in office, we should pray for Biden. We should pray for his health, and help. And that, I mean, I think that that's what we are called to do. And then we have to suffer the consequences. The Bible says that these leaders are appointed based on God allows it.
Hey, we're
And if
getting
you
what
get
we
a-
need either way, man.
If you get a crummy leader that destroys your nation, it's what you deserve. And
I
if you
check-
get a leader that brings it out, that's what you earned.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you have to, but yeah, vote your conscience and quit being mean to people about it, right? I don't know.
It could be me.
The neighbor put up a Harris Biden or Harris Waltz
Oh,
placard and a local Senate seat placard, obviously Democrat. And when I first pulled up, I was just like, oh, geez, you know, this is the first one in our neighborhood. No one else has anything up, and there's a part of me that Chuck jokingly said to my wife Trisha, I said, I thought she was a nice lady.
man, there. I had a neighbor. He had signs up for Biden, and
Yeah.
that was that last election. And people would go by and take a sign. They'd steal signs.
Really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. I don't think that that's proper.
I
I've
just thought it
watched
was
so many
funny.
reels of
And he
people
had a
doing
camera.
that, though.
And he had a camera, so we'd set him. It almost came just entertainment. We'd set the sign out there
And just
then
wait.
We'd just wait, and then we'd watch the video feed of them pulling up, getting out of the car, running up there, taking the sign, and running off. It was just comical, man.
So there was
It's so funny. We thought about putting a little shock thing in there. So when
They've
they grabbed
done-
the sign,
It's probably on TikTok still.
There was concerns of lawsuits, so
If they come on your property and you have a warning and they touch your property, it's on
the
them.
warning would be the ideal because
You'd have to have a no trespassing sign at minimum, but you can find the video of this. It's the same guy rides his bike by every day and like takes this dude's Trump sign out. And this guy tried everything. Like he started putting up bigger signs that were like posted in the ground, and the dude came back with a hammer. So he put a metal one up, and then he electrotized. When the video of the guy grabbing this, I mean, it was I think on not necessarily like CNN national news, but it made the news. It was on Channel 12 even. And then the other one was this dude lighting signs on fire. Like he would come up with lighter fluid. Sometimes
just roast them. That's arson right there. Right, that's felony, man.
And they were Trump signs specifically, and of course they were trying to bolster. You know, it's still propaganda, even if it's truth. It's propaganda because of the way it's put out. But yeah, I'm excited for the 7th. I'm gonna have a KC strip with some corn on the cob and some potatoes from my neighbor's garden, and a big salad, and I'm gonna sit back and just enjoy the show.
Yeah.
And when I wake up the next morning and the ballots still aren't counted and stuff's on fire, I'm gonna say, yeah,
I'm going to work, dude.
Going to work. Yep. It's on a Thursday. I might work from home that Friday. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
But yeah. Well, I don't know. What is today? Thursday, Friday. Let's get together again. I got Saturday morning. I got either trees to cut up or painting to do or making cookie dough. I don't know which.
Yeah, I'll be traveling.
And then Saturday night, I got card night. Sunday afternoon, I'm going to the kids for chicken cordon bleus.
Oh, yeah, man.
So,
all right.
yeah.
Well,
I love you, man.
love you, Ryan.
See you soon. See you guys. We love you.